Well, everybody gets food. Please keep getting food throughout the conversation tonight. There's no reason to stop eating just because we're into that meeting. So looks like I believe everyone who expected to be here is here. So let's just go around to a quick introduction. Your name and your role in the commission. I'm gonna start with you, Mitchell.
Hi, Mitchell Owens, Commissioner.
Matt Caldy, Commissioner.
Megan Murphy, Commissioner. Megan Binkowski, Commissioner.
Don Eggers, Commissioner. I'm still David Parker, Commissioner.
Mike Whitman, Commissioner.
Shannon Dyke, Commissioner.
Lorena Takers, Commissioner. Alana Keeley, Fellow. Linda Thompson, Liaison.
I'm Carrie Albright, Chair. Well, great to see you all. Great to see your full plate and your upbeat attitudes. We've got a good conversation ahead of us tonight, so I'm glad to have some delicious snacks to fuel. So thanks everybody for bringing stuff. It's great. And if you didn't bring anything, you still are required to eat as much as everyone who did bring stuff. So please do. All right. Well, and also, do we have anybody in the meeting, by the way, that's attending?
It looks like Jeff Palmer
Great.
is watching.
Great. Well, then we'll have.
Hi, I'm Jeff Palmer.
Hi. Hi, Jeff.
He may want to talk for 5 minutes, so.
Okay, great. Well, we've got public comment here in a sec, so we'll definitely make time for that. Before we go into that, we've got the August 2023 minute approval, but we'll just pretend that that's actually the December 2023 minutes. Did you? Hot dog. All right.
There we go.
Sounds great.
Well, no, I
Yeah.
finished it after I printed it.
It was gonna take
After I
off.
printed it. But I also had 2023 on the next meeting. But I changed those all, so they'll be correct for the record.
What? 2024 is gonna be a flawless year. I can feel it already. Great. Okay, well, oh, hi Connor. Welcome. Feel free to pull up a chair and definitely please grab a plate of food. There's plenty of snacks to be had.
Look at there.
Great. All right. So next on the agenda is just approving the December minutes from the very quick conversation we had in December. So unless anybody's got any hesitation, I would say we're open to.
I move that we approve the December minutes.
Excellent. Megan, all right,
Second, anyone say second?
excellent. Okay, let's go ahead and vote on approving the minutes. Yeah.
I vote yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Unanimously approved that conversation. Well, great. Again, we've got a bunch of fun stuff to talk about tonight, but before we do that, let's take a quick moment to allow any members of the public who'd like to introduce themselves or share anything with us to chime in. So we'll take a moment. Members of the public, you've got 5 minutes to share if there's anything you'd like to share. We've got someone in the room, so we'll start there.
Hey, everybody. My name is Justin Vassell. I'm a commissioner on the Sustainability Commission. Mostly just coming to sort of introduce myself to you all and just get a little better understanding of the kinds of stuff that you're working on. One of the efforts that I'm sort of working right now in our commission is to increase our sort of engagement with other commissions, other boards, that sort of thing, other entities in the community, and also public outreach, to teach folks about in Bloomington more about sustainability. And so I'm sure since there's, a little bit of overlap between our committees when it comes to the environmental side of sustainability, that there's probably opportunities for collaboration there. So mostly just trying to kind of get a better sense for that, and maybe we can sort of, keep a continuous dialogue going on and just kind of stay in touch. And I know you guys do like reports from other commissions and stuff like that every meeting, which I think is really cool. Something we'll probably try to do as well. So yeah, just hoping to kind of start that dialogue.
Excellent. That sounds great. Thanks for joining. And Justin, can you spell your last name for me?
Yeah, V as in Victor, A-S-E-L.
A-S-E-L. Perfect. Well, great. Well, welcome to the meeting. As you heard us talking about, this is our bucket list meeting, which is where we kind of brainstorm on ideas for priorities for the coming year. So A little bit different format than usual, and obviously, I wish we had this spread every month, but really, this is kind of our big brainstorming meeting, so yeah, glad to have you here. Well, great, and then, we've got Jeff on the Zoom call, so Jeff, if you'd like to introduce yourself or say anything, you're certainly welcome to. I'll give you a second there if you'd like to chime in.
He called me this afternoon and we talked for a while, so.
Jeff, are you talking? Do I have you muted? That's unmuted.
Yeah, I thought he wanted to say something
He
tonight.
said something a while ago.
Yeah, he was on.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I'm a 35-year resident of Bloomington. I'm on the, currently on the tree commission with Dave Parkhurst, but this is my last month on it. And trees are part of what I'm wanting to talk about today, but what I really want to talk about is the proposed Sudbury development on South Weimer Road, which is, as proposed, by far the largest development in Bloomington history, up to 6,000 housing units and some quite tall apartment buildings. In all of the minutes and packets from the Bloomington Plan Commission, I can see the Environmental Commission represented only in a letter of July 10th, at which point the commission had not toured the site, but from having read the proposal on the development, had raised a number of general concerns. And it said it would be touring the site, and I presume following that up with a report with recommendations and so on. I can't find any follow-up to that, and I wonder whether the commission has indeed toured the site, produced a report, and so on the proposed development.
Jeff, the developer has been going back and forth with the city on a number of issues,
Right.
mostly related to where the road's going to be and things of that nature. And they are supposedly going for approval instead of just advice in February. The final revision deadline is January 29th. And the EC subcommittee that deals with development will be meeting after that to craft the report, the memo. Yes, Dave.
And we did in fact meet there. Several of us went there and were given a tour by the developers back probably in July or June.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So you have toured it, subcommittee, but you're not going to produce any report until after the final revisions are of January 28th.
It'll be, there's every month, there's a final revision date. So there's a cutoff, we aren't making, revisions all the way up to the day of the plan commission. So the 29th is the deadline for them to give their final revisions for the February meeting.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that there's not going to be other revisions. That's just the deadline for the revisions for the upcoming meeting.
Okay. All righty. So, right. And when you say they, you mean the developers. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. All righty. And so you were going to produce a report sometime between January 29th and February 12th when the next plan commission meeting?
Yes.
Okay. All righty. And that report will then be at the packet for that meeting.
It will be in the packet.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Well, good. I'm glad to hear this. It's just been there's been silence for quite a while, so I just wanted to find out what was going on from the Environmental Commission standpoint.
Right. They were just making so many changes along the way that had nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
that, it was just silent for a while.
Okay, all righty. Well, I'm glad to hear you are fully involved then, and I won't take any more of your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Yeah.
Okay.
And thanks, Linda, for having all the scoop on all the planning things as you usually do. But yeah, Jeff, thanks for asking. This has been a really long process and it has been a lot of kind of stops and starts depending on where our committee can jump in. So yeah, we're glad to keep moving forward on that.
Okay, great. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your meeting and your food.
Thank you, Jeff. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Well, great. All right, well, I believe that's all of our members of the public at this point, and I know we're off to a roll. On the agenda for today, we have, before we jump into the bucket list, there's actually, as you've probably noticed in your email, there's lots of little odds and ends, things that have been coming up. So we'll hopefully just stick to the first two new business pieces, and then kind of as we wrap up, we can decide if we want to get into some other conversations. But right now, the Eco Heroes topic, title, and question about partnering with Parks and Rec. We talked about in the December meeting, how we might get more excitement about this, maybe get more people involved. And of course, Linda sent around the message about what's happening for the big Earth Day celebration, which does kind of make it a little bit complicated. So depending on, Alana, if you want to kind of spearhead the conversation about the topic and the title and everything like that, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, Linda and I talked sometime last week and I was bringing up, we were talking about doing more of a stormwater focus, just because that's what the water quality working group talked about last month's meeting. And I think it'd be a fun way to reinforce the work that's going on there. So I've been throwing around some ideas and I've also been looking at educational materials for like the younger elementary school, middle school kids, like crossword puzzles involved with stormwater terms. It's like mazes. So I'm just right now thinking of like a title. I'll sketch it to you guys right now. It might be too long, but it is, where'd it go? Okay. It drops to drain, eco hero shielding from stormwater strain. Oh, it's a lot. It's like a mouthful. So we could like shorten it to whatever, but like that's the vibe I was going for. I've made a character called CBU Sam because CBU. So yeah, it's going along very well. If you guys, I'm kind of just like dove into it. So I don't know if you have thoughts or feelings.
Can you say the title one more time?
Yeah, drops to drain, eco heroes shielding from stormwater strain.
All right, what do people think?
I love the full title, and I think you could easily shorten it, right? Like do it before the colon, shorten the title, drop to drain, and it's still really cute and clever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I approve.
Thoughts from anybody else?
Personally.
Any other input on the?
I think the shorter version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
And one of the things that about it, I think would really help is it's one of the things I learned from being volunteering at one lab was that kids are an asset to get their parents to do something. And with this Adopt a Drain program is one of the things that as far as we need to support. And I really like the idea. It's a cool idea.
Perfect.
Yes. Anybody else, any thoughts on that? I think it sounds like a great idea, and I feel like the title, I think Drops to Drain is just really quick and easy to reference, and I think that the longer title is really cute and kind of starts to, I don't know, starts to kind of connect you a little bit more with sort of a narrative in your head of like, how can we protect, how can we, save or conserve or that sort of thing. So I think the idea that you're kind of going behind is really a really nice one.
Have you bounced it past Christy Winters yet?
Not yet. That was my next question was you talked about like talking to utilities. So I don't know if you guys would be, how we should bring that to them and involve CBU because they do such great stormwater work.
I think that Christy and her folks in utilities would be really pleased to see that we're and more people to do that addresses, of course, the stormwater issue.
Okay, that's perfect. I'll do that this tomorrow. So I'll be trying to.
Yes. Does anybody have any other thoughts on it? At this point, we got to kind of narrow down to stormwater as being the primary focus, and then having, yeah, kind of this drops the drain theme to it. Any other thoughts on that Alana should kind of take into consideration before powering through?
Can you give us a little bit of just feedback for those of us who haven't been on commission that long, just a little bit of context about the eco heroes and like how you choose, yeah.
You want me to?
Yeah, go for it. Go- If you want to, sure.
Yeah, I think previously it's just been like, we choose an idea that we think is comparable to the commission. Last year we did trees, so it was like really easy for kids and older adults to really like participate. But yeah, we try to reach out to those teachers to get feel informed around it, if they can teach anything about it. And then I work on getting art submissions to us, and then we get like a small judging committee together, and then we have a ceremony, so. I want to integrate more like educational aspects, so they can like learn while they're doing it, not just like a fun one-time thing.
It's great. And the idea is basically that we try and get, yeah, school groups and homeschool groups and things like that involved in it. And that we break it into different age groups when it comes to like the judging, so that way it's kind of comparable, but it's different media types. It can be a painting, it can be an essay, it can be a poem, it can be a video. We had some like songs in the past. There's whatever calls to you when you're talking about protecting waterways and things like that. But yeah, I think the educational component's a really great idea too, because I think kind of like this sort of life story that you have in the title, I think that having things that people can sort of connect with and start looking at, you know, different language, different imagery and things like that about stormwater protection, then it might inspire them to make something.
One thing also with the representative from Sustainability Commission was here today was one of their things is trash and source of a lot of plastic waste going down into sewers, which ultimately lead to the ocean and contribute to the global problem with plastics in the environment, et cetera. Just one way of increasing participation by the community. Thinking globally, but acting.
And I think that that's a great segue to sort of the third component of partnering or how to bring in other folks to sort of be part of this initiative, whether it's in the actual sharing the word and feeling like the topic is, you know, relevant to them, that they would be excited to get people to encourage people to participate, or if it has to do with the actual event and who we bring in or who we're, you know, having that, sharing that space with, or who's helping us judge or whatever it be, but bringing in more partners to be part of the Eco Hero ceremony. Yeah.
So I like the theme. I wonder if we want to talk about the email that was sent out with the poster and the event and all that. But maybe Linda or someone would want to tell us about that.
Yes, before COVID, I chatted with Parks and Rec about possibly doing Eco Heroes at the same time that they were doing an Earth Day event. They started doing an Earth Day event like that year or something.
Mm-hmm.
So they contacted me back and said, you know, would the EC still be interested in doing something like that? And my first response was yes. And then I said, but, you know, do you have any plans going yet? And they said, yes, they were having speakers, and ESD was the Department for Economic Development and Sustainability. They were spearheading it along with Parks and Rec, and they already had like a whole program set out and basically wanted us to change the whole program such that it would just be a poster contest, and they would hang the posters up on the wall on at that Earth Day event, and the people there would vote on. But there was no time or place for our ceremony. And so when I read that, I said, yeah, that's probably a non-starter. And then they came back and said, well, what if we cancel one of the speakers and let you all go, would a half an hour be long enough? So we'd have to change some things around. It's not a long program, but a half an hour, it's usually an hour long. But it would, it would be there with all the other Earth Day events. It's no big deal that it would be in the afternoon and not in the morning, I think. We always had it like at 10 o'clock and had it here in coordination with the farmer's market. So I said, well, I don't know, that's more palatable, but I'll have to ask. I mean, there's kind of a whole program and we would be a half an hour of that program.
And in the Eco Hero ceremony, we usually have like, the mayor say something and, someone from the EC say something. Like, it seems like we have a couple of sort of ceremonial parts of the procedure that if squeezed, we might be able to reduce that, whether it's, then whoever it is kind of passing off to introduce the Eco Heroes and the EC then, sharing the awards and things like that. Like, I wonder if we could shave down some of the things that we would normally bake in when it's just, the event is only the Eco Hero ceremony.
Well, I think the presentation by the chair and the mayor are usually pretty short, about 5 minutes each maybe. And what really takes up all the time is all the kids coming up to get their prizes and shaking their hands, getting their picture taken. That's the part that can, I think, we could easily shave down. And, it's all, there's, adults can enter in this too, but it started out to be all about the kids and, for them to come up and shake the mayor's hand and get their picture taken and stuff is kind of a big deal. So I'm not sure how, if we can shave that down or not.
My instant reaction to it was, I feel like we could do it within a half hour, and I feel like it'd be a great opportunity to have more exposure for it, to, benefit future Eco Heroes. But my concern would be, would we be allowed to use half an hour of their time on our own theme, or would this just have to be poster related, and would we have to abandon?
Oh, no, I said, no, I don't think so.
Okay, because I think, I don't know, just part of the discussion here, I think if we believe we could do it in a half hour, that's an amazing opportunity, especially if we get to stay with our theme. So I don't know if there's further back and forth that needs to be done to see if we're on the same wavelength. But I feel like it could be done, and I'm just curious to hear what other people feel.
It seems like always the visibility potentially of this. I wasn't aware of those and stuff. As long as, and also just, it speaks to sort of collaboration as well between various people in the city who are working on ecological and environmental issues, which I think would be a good thing as well. If you could, again, I've not ever been to one of these, so if you could reasonably fit it. I also agree that I think the poster idea is not a good idea.
We're used to having the ceremony in the council chambers, and this would be at Switchyard Park. And there's not a real good place at Switchyard Park. There's not like there's not a stage. Of course, we don't have a stage, anyway, but we could probably take a podium. The sound was kind of crummy in there, but it's a big room, it's a big building, and I would think that just,
So it would be
It's
at
not
the
the-
building at Switchyard, not like the amphitheater or like the pop-up stage or whatever they bring.
oh, I don't think so. I think it'd be in that building.
Well, but if they have it set up for speakers, they should already theoretically have a podium and
Yeah.
a microphone and seats.
Right,
set up.
right. I'll have to check on chairs, because I don't expect the parents and grandparents to stand around the whole time. There are other details that I haven't, gotten into. Not till I got a feel from you guys.
I'd also be worried that we'd want with parents and grandparents and young kids, we don't necessarily want it to be like in the middle of a program of
Yeah.
speakers, right? We want it to be like, they can come and go to the ceremony, yeah.
So beginning or end.
Like more,
Yeah.
More or less.
break or
Yeah.
something, yeah, definitely.
Right, actually, the end would probably be great.
Yeah, I feel generally supportive of the whole thing as long as the logistics can be clear, like
Right.
as long as it's actually a viable fit.
Okay. For you folks that have been to the ceremony before, has anybody ever counted chairs? How many people are there?
We have a lot of pictures from last year.
Good point.
The number of participants before COVID and since COVID
Yeah.
has kind of made it such that it's not like we're packing council chambers lately. Now, maybe the visibility of it being at this Earth Day thing would increase the number of entries. I don't know. Probably depends on a lot of things, but we were not filling the chairs in the council chambers. It's not this last year.
If we can assume like 3 people per winner, and that's assuming all the winners come. I mean, that, I feel like that would probably be a decent estimate.
Usually, almost all winners come. I mean, we generally have like one person that can't make it or something. But generally, they all wind up showing up.
There's 10 winners and they each, one person that showed up and they each brought like minimum 2 family members. with them. So
Yeah.
Definitely 20 people.
Yeah.
With not doing just the posters, will we still be able to display the art at the event?
Well, I would make sure that we would.
As long as we don't have giant mycorrhizal this year.
Yeah, right. I want them to be able to take them home with them from there.
Mhm.
And for the sponsors, when I do the presentation slide, so it's always moving, like, I don't know, sponsors, like, will you show our name? Is there a way we could work sponsorship in, like making just so everyone know, there's a screen they can have?
Right, I don't know the answer to that, but again, because they're having presentations, one would assume, but that's something I'll have to check on.
Or it could always be something where if there's sponsors involved, they could turn into sponsors of the entire event. Eco Heroes stuff.
Okay, well, I'll check on those things. And make sure all of that can happen, because their first proposal basically sounded like they were just gonna take over Eco Heroes. And I thought, no, I don't think that's gonna happen. Okay,
Any other thoughts or questions from anybody else? Okay, as the time gets closer, Alana will start asking for volunteers with all sorts of different things, but at this point, is there anything that you need input on or want folks to weigh in on?
I'll just get started on some designs for our theme poster and then send it out, and you guys can be as mean as possible. I will not cry.
but we need to do this really soon, because she needs to send it to the school teachers.
Yes.
I guess, even though I would be leading the commission, I'd be willing to help out with, if you want to get things to businesses and schools, posters like we've done in the past.
Great, we will.
Do we need a commission vote to officially approve the theme, or are we able to just roll on without that? I mean, that way you can get right into the poster if you
Yeah.
like. I mean,
Well, we probably ought to vote on it.
Should vote on. We've got a little asterisk in our agenda, so. All right, so we're gonna vote. I'm gonna make Alana say it one more time, full title, but
The full title?
yeah, but the theme and title, and then we'll go around, just vote on the narrative scene.
Okay, so Eco Heroes 12th annual will be Drops to Drain, Eco Hero Shielding from Stormwater Strain. Shortened to Drops to Drain.
I like it.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to vote on this?
I motion to vote.
Second,
Thank you. All right, Mitchell.
yes. I vote yes.
Enthusiastic, yes. Very much yes.
Figure our children, posters, whatever, Mary Poppins, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 I vote yes. Great job, Alana. Thank you so much for getting this running, and we'll be looking forward to seeing some design stuff and getting the word out. And if you start to feel like you need help with like pulling together educational materials or ideas for things or input or anything like that, definitely send it around. I'm sure a lot of us will be happy to help with that. All right, any other thoughts on the eco heroes? Excited? Tell everyone you know, tell everyone, any age, doesn't matter if you know them or not know them, put it all over the world, because, yeah, it'd be fun to see what people contribute in stormwater protection is really important. Great, well, friends, we've made it to the really exciting part of today's conversation, which is the bucket list, so.
who brought the bucket?
Bucket of cookies.
Yeah, nice. Take it.
Ooh, that's
Um,
really
So my suggestion for tonight, and I'm happy to hear the people's thoughts, I missed last year, so if there's a input on how we run this one, feel free to let me know. My thought was that we can go around and take general suggestions, write those out, and have just kind of like a quick discussion of sort of what's sounding good and where we want to lean in a little bit more. My preference would be that before we do a final vote on what our top 3 to 4-ish priorities are for the year for the EC, that we have a clear idea of who will be sort of that point person to make sure that we stay on top of it. I think one of the things that's really hard is having these great ideas and this great conversation, and then life takes off. We meet once a month. Our meetings are sometimes really busy, sometimes they're not super busy, sometimes we're really busy. So I would love if we had at least one person kind of attached to each of the ideas as we're voting on them, so we know how to keep the momentum behind it and make sure we're doing the things that we're also excited about tonight. And then we would vote on what the priorities are.
Usually we write kind of a matrix on the board there. I would suggest that Matt's experienced at that.
Yeah.
Oh, I would suggest someone with better handwriting volunteers to do that. I do think we should put them on the whiteboard, even if we do have the discussion,
Oh, for sure.
identify point people, et cetera, before any kind of voting, but I think this helps. So
Oh, I
long as at
agree.
least one of their markers works well.
They do.
Okay, good.
I agree. Whiteboard is definitely the way to go. All right, so it's time to just open table. So if you've got an idea and you'd like to share something, please feel free to shout it out and elaborate as you'd like.
I think we should focus on water. And particularly with an emphasis on, well, water and biodiversity would be the two, and to me, they're interlinked. Those two categories are something that I think would be where we could support multiple departments, multiple commissions, as well as county government as well. And we would also be mitigating the potential for catastrophic flooding.
Yeah, and that's a great call. Okay, water and biodiversity and kind of knowing the connection there.
Yeah, I sent out a little spiel about my dream for the Environmental Commission to do some biodiversity related stuff this year. Did everyone have a chance to like at least glance at kind of what I sent out? Yeah, okay. So I don't know how much I should talk about this, but essentially last semester I kind of fell in love with a program that Ann Arden's Environmental Commission did, and it was about like pollinator aware yard care, and it was something that I think relates to like our habitat connectivity plan, like Megan is writing up there. And a lot of the resources that we already have on our website are like kind of related to like yard care and native plants and that kind of thing. And I think like maybe creating like a more formal space for that online that's like highly educational, that we can like advertise places, including like yard signs, that kind of thing, just to get more people involved, let people see kind of what the EC does. Yeah, maybe get some more public engagement and maybe some like hopefully some positive attention from city residents.
I would just jump in. I thought this was beautifully put together, and this is, I totally agree. I think I've been thinking a lot about wildlife corridors, and I know that you've already done work on that, but sort of thinking about habitat connectivity and also the problem of lawns. So, yeah, I just want to second everything that is articulated.
It's a good pairing with NCIRS too.
Yes, and I think, yeah, there are so many possibilities for partnerships there, including like if we do B City USA and pursue that. There's also B Campus USA, so we could even potentially find partners at the university to see if they want to like kind of move forward in a parallel motion. And then, yeah, NCIRS does a ton of stuff related to this, like the gardening community where we go to Master Gardeners Fair is really relevant to that. There's just, I think, a lot there.
There is a group called the B-Town Bee Club that we should invite somebody to come and talk to us. So,
Onto the, adaptation to, climate change, native plants that are, would be, comfortable with the projected climate change.
And that's a great idea.
I do also.
Parks is already doing that with their planning.
I do think it would be great if we could do more sort of collaboration with campus on these things. They've been pretty resistant to some of the outreach that I've been doing to establishing, anything but lawn in certain parts of campus. So I think it'd be really good to work with them if we're developing and encouraging biodiversity in the city and lawns.
At the very least, there's probably student groups we could get on board and stuff. Administration themselves are.
Not facilities, you're funded stuff.
I'd also add, like, I love the collaboration with the university, but also collaboration with other committees or like different, I don't know, aspects of city government to be really impactful. Obviously, we have liaison here, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, because ultimately, if the program's going to include things like yard signs, it probably goes beyond our budget and would need some city involvement. But I like a lot of aspects of that. I think it's a great suggestion.
And honestly, I know we kind of talked about it in December, but just seeing this and seeing how this could be a complete runway into Eco Heroes 2025, talking about some kind of, like that theme and already building these connections and maybe helping that have more momentum moving forward. I feel like even looking ahead and thinking about it that way is really good.
Some pollinator related.
Yeah.
Oh, and another little arrow under there might be to revitalize the biodiversity working group.
Yes, that was kind of like the overarching thing that I wanted, that I think would ultimately be responsible for this would be in resuscitated biodiversity working group.
As we're talking about all these different points under biodiversity, consider if, as we're going into more deep discussion and voting and things like that, consider if each of these would be its own initiative, or just biodiversity is the initiative, and just kind of think about like your bandwidth, your like our actual capacity and ability to make things happen in this next 11 months or so. So I think that would be an important part of it too.
Working groups regularly either become more active or go more dormant. So I wouldn't say that just reviving a working group would be the bucket list point, because we could just do that at any given meeting. Having the other stuff you presented is the point, because we can say, hey, we want to have a biodiversity working group. I want to chair it. Who wants to be on it? We can just do that in any given meeting.
Yeah, these are kind of just like the little task items I foresee the biodiversity working group maybe doing.
So we're going to be talking about other possibilities, right? Like the water quality.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that kind of thinking through what are the priorities as the biodiversity working group is revived, which I think, it doesn't require a big plan or anything. knowing what are gonna be the top priorities, how many people do we really think it makes sense to be committed to helping make this happen? Because I think Corinna could probably do all of it all by herself, but I suspect that would be a disaster for her, just well-being and all of that. But I think just knowing that, part would be thinking through what we want to prioritize. And the water, Don mentioned water, but my presumption is that that falls into the water quality working group and some, either report or something, some sort of data gathering, data analysis, something like that in the works. So that was kind of my interpretation of what water was, but that maybe more than.
Couple of thoughts of irons in the fire of some sort with that, with like the idea of trying to do data gathering report and also working with the stormwater folks and figuring out avenues and like publicizing the work that they're doing along, like the eco-hero stuff this year goes really well with that. And seeing what else we can do on top of the huge effort that they're making this year.
Green infrastructure.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that it would be a bucket list item simply for the formality of saying like, this is something we want to prioritize, even though it's not something we all need to deliberate on or something like that.
This group can be active, period.
Yeah, but knowing like, this is something that when we're starting to talk about things and going meeting to meeting, it's, knowing that we want to keep focusing on. Okay, additional thoughts?
I was gonna propose the habitat connectivity plan had a map that was associated with it that was difficult to use and a brochure that was not ideal. We've done a lot of work. I say we, I mean mostly Alana since then. Mostly. I think it would be really great to kind of push the map and the plan this year. I mean, anything from tabling at significant events to, I could do some door to door. Like I want to see it be emphasized and filled in a way that lets us know that people are, even if it's planting one tree, that it is happening, it is making a change.
I agree. I think it's a great idea, and even thinking about like just visiting other commissions and doing, or, commissions that we're already on and just doing that asking for a quick presentation to share about it, get the word out, have things we can hand out or, something like that.
It is getting, like the literature is getting a lot more approachable. The site is more usable as long as maybe everyone but Dave, because you have to be signed in on Google basically. But otherwise, but you could, I could make the pin for you. You could tell me what you want described and I can put it in there and have to log in. But we could all get on it and then we could really try to get it in front of more eyes because it's such a good opportunity to create a positive change.
Thinking about it, like, have we ever talked about asking if we can do presentation in the school? Like, obviously that's up to like a few different factors, but like if we're already trying to build better relationships with, like MCCSC or even, some of the non-MCCSC schools in town. I think that kind of thing could be, I don't know the easiest runway to doing that, but I'm guessing we all have different connections that we could probably explore a little bit.
I think that's a really good, thing to consider as one of the many ways we can really push the plan or map, because it absolutely fits under that umbrella.
Yeah.
In support of your initiative to get a product out, the next group that would be really a key to having this happen, actually get progress in the area, will be working with the neighborhood associations. And I think that would be, as far as collaborators for us, the neighborhood associations overall are one of the places where you can actually get things going. The current grant from Han to Blue Ridge was basically something that was presented to the Blue Ridge, in essence, Neighborhood Association. And having seen how the progress they've made in removing invasive plants from the area, this is something we're having the support of the Neighborhood Association and also to particularly approaching the lower income neighborhoods
it sounds as though, much like the school one, that's, yep, we have lots of groups to put it in front of.
I think it's a great idea.
Should we choose to make it one of our priorities, that, yep, all of these will be considered.
Okay, okay, so I think that is a really good addition to the general biodiversity working group and habitat plan kind of next steps. What other things do people want to consider for the bucket list?
Most of the ideas I had pretty much fit in with what people have already talked about. Outreach for the importance of riparian habitat, riparian trees and shrubs and so on. But I want to take this opportunity to bring up one other topic. I don't know how many of you saw in this email. You remember our proposed changes to the stream buffer ordinance. Right. Something I did this. And apparently it's been rejected, it is not going to happen, so the original letter that we sent out on that, is everybody familiar with this, remember this? The original letter that we sent out on that was copied to Matt Flaherty, the city council. And I feel like it's time that we need to approach the city council to see if we can get their support on this, so that's not the whole topic for the entire year, but I think it's something that needs to be done.
I'd like to put it in the ordinance that if there's not plants, at least in the first 25 feet of the riparian buffer that they need to plant something.
That would be another new change, right?
That would be another change. But, you know, I probably gave 100 suggestions on updates. Some of them were just wording, some of them were substantial, and basically, they're being left out also.
They're being what?
Left out, they're,
You think that's partly because we're just under interim leadership, or is this?
no, no.
With Jackie being interim and like a new council, do you think it will change or?
No, Jackie's the one leaving everything, not wanting to look at things.
Say that again.
It's the interim director that doesn't want to go forward with these environmental changes.
You know, I forgot, who is that?
The interim director of the Planning and Transportation Department.
Yeah, I forgot who that is.
It's Jackie's.
That's what I thought, yeah, okay.
But so when we get a permanent director that isn't Jackie Scanlon, will that potentially reopen the conversation?
And when she goes back to being manager, I mean, she's in control of what goes forward and what doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't think it will change.
And how much time do we have on this before the changes?
Well, they're starting to write them now, but it's not gonna go to the council till like March.
So we'll have another meeting before. Okay.
Linda, it sounds like you're not optimistic about any input from us going anywhere. Is that accurate?
Yes, I suppose it's accurate.
I think continuing to try and like think of other solutions is gonna be really important, but yeah, I think sounds like it might be just us in a good fight for now.
Yeah, going Matt Flaherty, maybe.
Mhm.
The more director.
All right.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, well, I guess we can discuss how to do that. Later on.
And I don't want to do that instantly because the new council has to find their feet beneath them also right now.
All right. Other thoughts on priorities for this coming year? You want to share them?
Yeah, one thing I like that we did this year was, the weed wrangle. Did things in the community. I think that was, first of all, it was a lot of fun, but also I think it's pretty beneficial to, like, see our impact, in the first.
Doing what again?
The weed wrangle.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think it really helped because Jillian has really latched on to the connectivity part of that. And she's thinking about just the parks, since that's her job, but she's thinking about our connectivity plan.
Yeah, and she's also stressing it, and with the neighbor, when she's talking to some of the neighborhood associations. No, so it's not just parks, but, again, it's, our respect for hers. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize she was talking to neighborhood associations, so that's great. It's really great.
You want the bucket list item to try to do at least one, if not a few of those, as much as commission-wide as we can this calendar year?
Yeah, that's what
It's a fine idea.
I agree that it was also a really great time to make the collaboration. Like they mentioned, she is a huge cheerleader of the Habitat Connectivity Plan, that I think if we were to revamp that and do more weed wrinkles, that could be, very effective.
Where you list campus on the thing, I would include the school corporation and Ivy Tech as well as IU.
Yeah, I think one thing I'd like to see, but I'm hesitant to suggest it because I'm not prepared to take leadership or ownership of this is, I think I'd like to see more communicate, like more sort of public, op-eds in the Herald Times and things about the types of, about habitat connectivity or about riparian buffer. I mean, about all of these things, because I think that that's part of educating our community on. Yeah, so, but as we are deciding whatever we're going to focus on, I think it would be great to have a kind of outreach component that thought about media, the publicity of that, and, maybe I could help with that.
For a while, we had a program process where we took turns, everybody sent a letter to the editor, not a letter, but a guest column about some environmental issue. And that lasted about a year or something like that.
Yeah, it's been a few years since we had that formally, but it was.
That'd be great.
It was
At
good.
least anybody who wants to do it, they could put it forward,
Well, I don't know if they even take them anymore. They always have that same guy.
Yeah,
Well, you
I
have
was gonna say, I
yeah.
have, even without the formal structure, I've done one each of the last 3 years and they've taken all three, so.
Good.
Yeah.
My sense is they could use more content. So.
Look at us, a group of people ready to provide. Mike, you could do one about a riparian buffer right away before the March.
If your couple was like, this is.
Both about why it's important and why it should be measured the way it is, and just, it's just a tiny bit of pressure on maybe when that conversation comes up.
The only trick with these things is no matter when you submit them, you never know when they're going to appear.
That's true.
Sort of.
My last one appeared same day, which speaks to maybe they need content. Or maybe it was just really convenient because there was already controversy about what are we doing with the leaves, and they're removing the leaf vacuum, and my article was basically about what to do with your leaves. So they were probably like, perfect, put it out now. It's almost like the city
The
talking.
name of the environmental commission, I guess we would need to vote on that. If we do it as our own, ourselves, we then.
Do we really not vote online?
We cannot vote online.
So,
The tree commission
right,
disagrees with that, I think.
I mean, I think we've done times where we acknowledge the topic and kind of the general,
right, so a guest column or a letter to the editor is technically just the person who wrote it. It's not, like you basically have a disclaimer there saying that this isn't the opinion of this group or that group. This is, I am a member of the Environmental Commission, but it's like you take ownership of the piece, which is why when I've done them, I send out what I've written by email to the whole group and say, please give me feedback. Within a week, I'm going to submit it. And I've gone from making almost no changes to the Damia seriously affected a paragraph of mine once. But it's a valuable part of it, but I don't think we need any kind of formal vote, because at the end of the day, it was my piece.
That would avoid the need. for-
So I like the help of the group, but it doesn't have to be formally approved by the group because technically it is the author's work.
I think for letters to the editor, that makes good sense. I was thinking about WFHB has their like eco report radio program and stuff like that, where it's like, there's no reason we can't have some folks go in and talk about an activity that we're doing, a program we're doing, or, you know, or some kind of additional like existing program or folks that might be interested. And I think in that sense, it might be just sort of approving that this would be a good fit and kind of trusting that we all are on the same page of what kinds of things we would share or whatever. But you're right, the letter to the editor would be on behalf of ourselves, you know, and not the EC formally or anything. But I think that really thinking about, as we're especially coming up with our priorities next year, thinking about how do we want to talk about this? Because you're right, it's so easy to have our little cheering team across the table, but if the community doesn't know about it, if people aren't excited about it or using these things, except for the Bug Fest and Garden Fair or whatever it would be, it really isn't contributing to the community the way that we all really hope it will. So I think thinking through what can we get the word out about when it comes to all these priorities, and there's just tons of opportunities. So I think it's a great idea.
Okay, I guess now that I look at it, the little, I don't know what to call it, the little tagline at the bottom does make it sound as though it is the opinion of the commission, even though it has the author's name right at the top. It said, at the end, it said, Matt Caldy is a member of the Bloomington Environmental Commission. The commission is composed of residents who serve as volunteers to inform and advise their fellow residents, city staff, and elected officials. This statement reflects the opinion of this commission only and does not necessarily represent the view of the city of Bloomington. So it's distanced from the city.
That was required with the last administration.
What's that?
That was required by the last administration, that we have that disclaimer on there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was a revised.
It's the commission.
Right, it was a revised one as well, because a few years ago when I started doing it, was worded differently in a way that I liked even less, and this one's cleaner, but.
Matt, if there are folks who'd like to contribute and they're not sure how to do it, can they like talk to you, or would you be willing to like give like little, you know,
Yes.
quick tips on how to do it?
Yes.
Well, great.
I was gonna say, their website makes it pretty easy to submit one, so you just want to be sure of your final draft before you submit it, but I can talk people through it.
So I'm gonna suggest that we take the next 2 minutes. If people need to like get some water, get more snacks, something like that, just take a minute and think about what else is on this list, if there's anything that we're missing, but just like I'm gonna say 2 minutes to just kind of have that moment, and then we can kind of continue on the conversation and keep moving.
Oh, yes.
I do think it would be really great if we had more content in that paper, but it like, it has. Because I mean, I have been at least been responsible directly for 3 in the last 3 years, but kind of co-wrote a 4th, and a different member had her name on it because we were working together. It was mostly her writing. And it's one of those things that even when we did decide as a commission, like, do it every month, it's everybody sign up. I wrote one in my wrote one here, and it just kind of died.
And I think that's part of what I'm getting, but it's really hard, and I was like, I think that actually have to
Everybody be able to do it, and that's why I'm like, I don't know, I think it'd be really hard if it was fired, in a sense, it would be really hard to say, oh, you gotta write one for August, what are you gonna do?
I think that's exactly.
But I think there are enough of us who care about enough things, and even have expertise in the area. Like if Megan wanted to write one at some critical time, and say early spring with all of your insect knowledge, it would just be, because you could speak in great detail to some of the importance of supporting pollinators in a way that the rest of us might be like, ooh, you're the research person, you could rattle off the however few hundred words, and then put it out for us to say, oh, yep, that looks good, that's beyond my knowledge of that stuff.
And I think that's why I think it's actually a really good idea to consider how we bake it into each of our priorities of saying like, the water quality stuff, whatever we're doing, let's make sure that at the end of it, there's also something submitted to the paper reports or whatever news outlet when it comes to the habitat connectivity plan, when it comes to the pollinators, when it comes to the eco, just like it's.
And I love your question there, because he talks about turning it off, I thought, I could probably do that, but I have no idea, like, how long should it be?
Yeah, what am I not thinking about this? Yeah.
There is a word limit, so
Okay,
that's really all.
Okay.
I can help with editing and.
Yeah, oh, that's right. I can help you with that.
I love that. Oh, that is my favorite. I hate passive, but it's really, my students, like, lessons and lessons, my passive voice is terrible.
Right.
So,
What's that?
I know, which is why they use it.
I have that French container. It's for a friend of a friend.
Because I
Did you
like
try
to
it?
write
So good.
conversationally, I like to write it like someone's hearing it in my voice, even though they don't.
You want
know
an
me.
orange?
So I do have a problem with,
I had one,
It has some strips of.
yeah. Well, I've gotten better at it.
I'm just
I've
gonna
gotten
like
better
start
at it.
making people like move things around the table.
Oh, that's good.
I'm literally just gonna actually make things move
all of
around
my
the table.
students come in having been taught, like, you can never use I or he in scientific writing. Everything is.
I always blame it on the scientists and like the policy people, or like, they don't want you to know who's doing work, like the agency. But maybe not, maybe they do.
Yeah, I think the lawyers are trying to beat up the policy people. To not do passive voice.
My other thing is like, you know, if you're pretending like there's objectivity, like. But, you know, even if you're a scientist.
But like,
it's
when I first put things on paper for like a guest column, it's almost passive voice, it's not bad, but I've gotten better at catching some of it, and I never take all of it. I always have.
Yes, yeah.
Because I still like the conversation.
You don't want to have the
Yeah,
consistent.
agreed.
Yeah.
It is, it feels like that, it feels like a little like, I don't
That's,
know.
my students are always been taught that you're doing scientific writing, you can't use I or we at all. And it's just like, the first day I say, that is a lie. Use I and we when it feels appropriate, and then they still don't.
Letters to the editor are like impossibly short or capped with 200 words. And if you wanna
No.
Try to communicate anything, it's just really hard to do. They take those all the time from everybody. Guest columns get up to 600 words, which I felt is great, which is why all of mine have been columns. Because I don't know how to actually teach anyone anything in a paragraph and a half, like I can't do that.
Wow.
So both of those things are at our disposal all the time.
Okay.
So I don't know, I guess it does say it is the opinion of the commission, but like, at the end of the day, someone's name is on it, and I feel like we cleared that bar by just putting it in front of everyone and saying, does anyone opposed to this being published?
Yeah.
And what edits would you recommend?
All the other.
Take whichever ones they
say.
can be on.
And I feel like, and like we said, I mean, even just saying, like, as a commission, we all know that Megan's gonna be writing,
I know.
you know, piece for the paper soon, right? Not kidding. But like all of us saying, like, we're in agreement with that, we support that, and we'll, you know, be happy to help edit or whatever, like, I think that that's.
And maybe if we're ever on a like really controversial topic, then we can do a full vote.
That was the hardest. There was only one that we decided to have the whole commission vote on, was in support of like plexus.
Of what?
And like duplexes, triplexes, so on and so forth, because it was really, because the portions of the community were upset. So we knew it had a chance of being somewhat controversial, but we ended up getting the unanimous vote at a commission meeting and submitting it, so.
Is the break over?
Break's over. Did you get your snacks? If you like fudge at all, I would highly recommend the fudge Mitchell brought in. It's delicious. There's mandarins, peanuts, fruit, cookies galore. So please don't hesitate to keep grabbing some snacks. Okay, so we've got this list up here. Like we said in the beginning, the idea is that before we vote, we will know who is somebody to say, yeah, you can put my name on that, and I will like help start thinking through how we put this into play in the coming year. You don't necessarily have to be the person that is doing it all or knows it all, but it would be somebody who is keeping their finger on the pulse of if we're making progress, how can we keep prioritizing it? How can we keep it in conversation? Perfect. So we're just gonna put people's names up. You can have to volunteer. Megan's on top of it. Totally fine.
We're not at least putting you here. Do you want to go bigger? I don't know.
Grad school might be well fine.
I mean,
I'm very
be
busy
realistic.
during the
Yeah,
day.
be realistic. It's okay.
Tell me if I spell your name wrong. NNA. Thank you.
I'm gonna nominate Mike for the riparian buffer, UDO, progress. How do you feel about that, Mike?
But again, that's not a year-long
Yeah, it's just
task.
however long it lasts, yeah.
Nice to have some things that we can just like check off the list too. Right? This is how I make my list every day, like
If I
good
don't-
things and the like brush my teeth.
I'll organize that. Doable.
Can we vote for more than one?
Oh, this is not voting. This is nominations for who would be like the point person to make sure
Okay.
if we do vote on this and it becomes a top priority. Just making sure we've got folks everything.
Well, honestly, I don't know how much voting is needed. It feels like everything's doable.
I don't know.
You're all worried.
Are there other thoughts that are not on this board that strike you as being potentially important ones for us to consider? Okay. All right, well, what other kind of points or sub-points still need names with them? Or would it be beneficial to have additional people attached to them? Like Mitchell, for example, we've got you on the water piece of it. Are you comfortable with kind of being both on the collecting data and collaborating with CBU? Point, okay. But we have his eyes closed. He's ready for the challenge.
I think these two are pretty big jobs, that having a point person. And whether it's like Corinna and someone else could be the chairs of biodiversity working group and oversee and allocate that. I don't want to say you.
I would love to have a partner if I were to do something like that. I mean, I won't be here in short few time, but I'm working on the natural landscaping brochure we have, which is talking about native plants, so I'm upping that. So I can be a person, I don't know if I'll be a point person for the whole year, but yeah, I can get stuff going with cute ideas revolving around the outreach and material stuff.
So can get us started as long as there's people ready to take it over. Gorge, my kind of is very.
Matt, I'm seeing your name next to the habitat connectivity plan and map.
I can be one of the people doing that. I would like help.
I would be interested. Yeah, I think it's a little big for one.
Yeah, I'm feeling similarly of like, I could be another point person, but don't want to be the point.
Well, kind of the same way that I don't want to just be public communication guy,
Yeah.
but I understand I have PhD experience, so it can be a reference point. So I don't want to be the guy.
Are you in the GA as well? I am, okay.
So maybe Megan could kind of help keep
Yeah.
the momentum and kind of keep that conversation going, because like that, and Matt, you could be the old experience. I really love the idea of where collaboration comes into all of this. So I don't know, it's not necessarily like one of these items, but I think that like looking into and starting to reach out to some of these different groups, or even connecting with some of these different either commissions or student groups and saying, hey, can somebody from our group come and like share with you our, materials or whatever? I don't know where that fits in across all of these things, but I feel like that's something I'd be interested in.
Every year we plan to collaborate more, and every year we struggle with it.
I know.
Maybe we just need an accountability person to tell
Yeah.
us every month, how can we make this collaborative?
Yeah, and I think as soon as, especially the habitat connectivity plan, I think as soon as we have something that we feel good.
Yeah.
I'm curious, the person who says like, wow, it sounds like you guys are
Sounds like
working,
this is
doing a
opportunity.
great job. Let's reach out to.
I mean, I think it's really like saying like, are we ready? Are we ready to talk to somebody about it? Whether it's about eco heroes, whether it's about like connectivity plan, whether it's about the water report. It's like, when do we say, let's start going to neighborhood association meetings. Let's start going to other commissions and bringing this as a talking point. I think that kind of moving on that is what we've kind of been hesitant to do. So I'd be happy to light some fires in that way.
Yeah, I'm also involved. There's so many of these. I'd love to be on biodiversity, working with and the habitat connectivity, but also the public communication I could help with. And I'm feeling pretty committed and like trying to push the university in some ways towards what the collaboration as well, and
I was gonna.
I'm like, I should write no, probably not the water, because I know nothing about water. Sorry.
Again, as far as
I
working
also-
groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. As far as
Yeah.
working groups go, we can make this a regular January or February thing of just bumping them and saying, hey, here's the working groups. Is anybody who's not on one of these want to join one of these? Reminder, these are some of the projects that we'll be taking on and, because it doesn't mean, if you're on the biodiversity working group, it doesn't mean you have to be able to meet every single time they meet or have your hand way into every single agenda item. Like, just means you're gonna help.
Well, if that's a working group, I'd like to be on it.
Just start tracking everyone on working group. Or will that be the next step? Do we want to vote? I know Matt suggested like all of these pieces kind of fit together, that do we need to pick one, or like, are there ones we want to eliminate, or do we just say, great idea, let's do that?
What is, oh, sorry. were you-
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think we should have them all. Maybe we should try to prioritize a little, but I don't think we need to eliminate anything. Personally.
And these all seem to work in parallel or with each other. pretty well.
Right, it's not like it's 15 individual things.
I mean, it seems like we sort of have 3 working groups up here and then 2 smaller events or smaller things. So the 3 are, water, biodiversity, and then I think communication and collaboration are sort of working in the
The
same.
public outreach,
Kind of
Yeah,
group
the
that we've
outreach
never
group.
been able to keep people in.
And I feel like this is more like an integrated outreach instead of it being like, your job is outreach. It's like, no, it's the outreach for each of these things, which I think will kind of change the flavor of that a little bit.
Yes. Because otherwise outreach feels like, oh, then the people that show up, and then it's like, what do we do when we get?
Yeah, what are we gonna share? Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose the fact that I go to tree commission meetings and report back here, I go to ERAC meetings and report back here, and I work with, Friends of Lake Monroe and report back here. That's sort of part of collaboration, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Okay.
I have a question. Is this the formal process of deciding who's going to be on the working group?
I hope.
This is making sure that any of our priorities have at least
Okay.
somebody who's committed to it, but it's not officially the working group for it. This is still part of the bucket list. It's just, if we say yes to this, who is gonna make sure that this stays a priority versus always be like, great, which is not as fun at the end of the year.
I was gonna say, working groups, we can sort out via email between this meeting and
Mhm.
next.
Yeah.
It can be like, hey, here's what we had. Does
Yeah.
anyone want their name on or off of any of these things that it's currently off or on?
Yeah.
And is the person who's chairing them willing to keep chairing them type deal? We can easily get that set up.
So it seems like, as we've said, it seems like the collaboration and sort of outreach communication folds into most of the other things that we're talking about. So my impression is that that doesn't need to be its own separate list, or a bucket list item, it's folded in. So right now we have the 2 different points within water. We have 3 examples of what we might do for the biodiversity working group. And then we have 3 additional, actually, well, I'm gonna say 2 additional because the public communication is kind of in its own way, sort of connected. But I would say we've got those 2 additional pieces. Even thinking about priorities, it seems like weed wrangle may not need a like massive assessment of what kind of priority it is. It's just when the weather gets better, then let's find the time we all can do it.
Yeah.
And the riparian buffer changes, it's kind of a work in progress that we're just kind of trying to shoehorn in some improved requirements. For biodiversity and water, do you all feel the need to say which is our initial priority or anything to kind of give it any sort of ranking at all? Or does it kind of feel like it's in place as it is? Because it kind of tells us if we need to vote or not, because I don't know if at this point we can just say yes, or if we need to say more this or that.
I think the groups need to like figure out who they are and then decide what their priorities are, and then we decide. Like, I think it's that one needs to take priority over.
Yeah, what do y'all think about that, about letting it be within the working groups that's figured out?
Yeah, I think we can definitely like have water quality and biodiversity working groups, but then like Shannon said, maybe the biodiversity working group needs to figure out which of these we start with.
Yeah. And also
Say,
figuring
yeah,
out who's
water
like
quality.
overlapping between the two working groups and what those people can handle.
Yes, where they want their focus.
I think it all seems achievable. I don't think we need to vote on anything.
Yeah, I guess one more obvious is that when we talk about biodiversity and then looking at water, the main corridor for invasives as well as native species is that these corridors like rivers, highways, railroad tracks that connect to other areas. So to me, the interrelationship is pretty obvious, and both are things very clearly in our expertise as a group of individuals.
Okay. All right, so really what we've done tonight is solidified what working groups we want to prioritize and made sure people are excited about the working groups, which is great. I mean, that's, I would say it's better than coming up with a whole new list of things that are completely foreign to us that we spend the year trying to wrap our heads around. So I think that this is really building motivation for the things we've already been excited about and maybe elaborate a bit more.
Can I make one more pitch?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I still think, this is what I was trying to say earlier, is that I think communication and collaboration should be its own working group, even though it flows out of the other things. But I think if you say that it's a working group, you prioritize that work, I mean, they can come up with their own strategy for, responding to the things that are generated by the water and the biodiversity groups, of course, but also with public communication, I do think there needs to be a sort of a strategy that the information that we create, we want to circulate can fit into, but already a set of containers that it can sort of fit into, a set of expectations that we will generate, a op-ed a month for the Herald Times. And it doesn't have to be from this group. It could be, we could reach out to other people who are doing MC Iris or I was just thinking, other sort of writers in town or who we could ask to write about, about biodiversity. And I'm thinking Scott Russell Sanders, who's one of my colleagues, I could ask him to write about, trees and biodiversity in Bloomington, and he probably would do. So if we could have a series, just a strategy for maintaining a sort of constant public presence, bringing these issues. I just think that's sort of something worthy of itself, and the collaboration as well as starting to develop those partnerships as they flow out of these other things, but also prioritizing them enough to say we're going to have a group that thinks through these things, communication in collaboration. But you can shoot that down. I understand the logic of the flow.
No, I mean, I think that sounds like its own bullet point though on the bucket list. So it definitely doesn't sound like it's how we connect what we're doing with the community. It sounds like it's really saying, how do we continue to highlight what the environmental, concerns are in our community or opportunities in our community, that it would be its own separate bullet point versus the other thing, which is another thing that is valid and useful, but.
Yeah, outreach working group in the past has always been kind of challenging and felt really abstract, but it sounds like there's a deliberate role for it at this point, even if it's just reminding people within groups or working with people within the working groups to say, hey, this thing you're doing, it's great, but also let's see if these people want to help. That's right.
Yeah, and I think having it as a dedicated working group or something like that would also help identify if we want to outreach with specific communities, who are the point people in those communities that we can reach out, someone to identify where and who we need to reach out to, or what the outlets we can use, instead of that, just feel like otherwise it'd be kind of a scattershot effort every time we're just yeah.
I'll again pitch the idea that the weed wrangle, I would say that for those commission members that have never been on one, try it out, see what's going on. If you really want to see evidence of biodiversity or wildlife corridors or biodiversity corridors, take part in the weed wrangle and you'll see right in front of your eyes examples of the impact of
invasives.
And not just invasives, but even native species, the interconnectivity of how things spread and work together. And in the same process, all this contributes to protecting our green canopy and addressing climate change. It's all part of the same complex problem that we all share interest in this, but getting the message to the rest of our community that they can contribute is, to me, very important.
Yeah, I think if we have this down, we might be good. Those reports.
Okay, when it comes to just one last question, kind of make sure I'm not over simplifying or over complicating Shannon's point about the community and collaboration working group. As you're kind of thinking about the public communication, op-eds, media, et cetera, and the community collaboration working group, are you still seeing those as a merged topic then? Okay, so we've got Matt and Megan, and then I know that you.
I'm
Your name up?
happy to help.
Okay, cool, and I can put my name on that too to support. And Corinna too. Corinna, how many times is your name up there? No, just kidding, just kidding. Okay, great.
Everybody holding everybody accountable.
Yes, it's true, it's true. So we're all gonna get busy and we're all gonna need to make sure we're passing, the torch as we need to take care of different things. So I think more is good, and all of us being in this conversation saying, yeah, we're all interested in supporting it. Okay, great. Well, friends, I don't know that we need to vote on anything or formalize anything. It seems like we're on the same page, and I've been taking notes. We've got some photos that we've taken of this, and I know that we're all kind of trying to keep track of it. So I think we'll probably share this as a confirmation of what we've got, and then start sourcing the official working groups, and y'all can then start planning your meeting time or how you want to stay in communication. Any last thoughts for the bucket list piece of this conversation? All right, no, okay. So here on our agenda then, we're into the reports section. So I would like to welcome reports from any of the committees or commissions that have met. And typically we start with the tree commission.
So you're gonna put the lid on the bucket?
That's right, we're sealing up the bucket until next year.
So the tree commission normally would have met this past Monday, but that was MLK Day, so they met a week earlier. And here is a brief report. The urban forester report was shorter than usual. He said something about the tree city will update, and I'm not quite sure what he meant by that. He has planted 816 trees this past year, and he's hiring for a tree inventory specialist. Our tree inventory sometimes gets trees misnamed and so on, so it'd be good to have a specialist who really knows all their trees.
Would that be a permanent full-time position?
I think so, yeah. Next, tree issues at IU. Mia Williams, who's the IU landscape architect, says they're hiring an assistant landscape architect. They have 2 certified arborists on the staff now. I think that's just in Bloomington. And they're repropping up the bur oak that's on the north side of the Union. And that's a tree that's always been one of my favorites since I came here in 1973. There used to be 2 big bur oaks, one on the south side of the road there and one on the north side of the road. And they seemed like twins. And then they put in a parking lot on the north side that killed off the one on the north side. And so now the one on the south side just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're having to prop up the limbs so that they won't fall down. And that's happening. Let's see. Not much else then. For old business, they talked about somebody going to the park board meeting the next board meeting to talk about the tree commission, and that'll happen on the 22nd. We elected a new tree commission chair because the previous one was dropping off the commission along with Jeff Palmer, who was at his last meeting as well. So the new tree commission chair is a fellow named Neil, and I'm forgetting his last name. He's originally from Indonesia, I think. A young fellow who works for the city. Let's see. So there are now two vacancies on the tree commission, at least, if not more. Oh, they'd like to get an arborist, but all of the local arborists live out in the county. So they're trying to see whether they can actually have a county person on the tree commission, which really would make sense. They'd really like to have a trained arborist on the tree commission, and if they have to get somebody from the county, they would like to do that. And that's about all that happened on this tree commission meeting. There was no new ERAC meeting this time for me to report on, and I don't have any new information about Friends of Lake Monroe. Mike might have been to a science meeting more recently than I have.
No,
No? Okay.
it's over my head.
Okay.
Okay, I did attend the B-class meeting this month. And the takeaway I have that one of the things that they're stressing that we could help them with in endorsing it. I'm normally not a fan of things like declaring climate crisis and stuff like that, but I prefer action versus alarmism. But I do think that making it clear that fossil fuels do need to be phased out. That is something I would hope that this commission will support full-heartedly with as much as we can. It's idealistic, but it is a way of trying to draw attention to the reality that needs to be done. I'm 75, my granddaughter is 5. I liked her to grow up and not in a full-blown climate disaster.
Was Becos looking for any, like, support on anything in particular? Like, is Becos like making a statement or writing a letter or having any kind of thing that we could formally?
How are you guys supporting that? That's a good.
We don't have anything in the works right now, but maybe something.
Good, keep us posted.
Absolutely.
And of course, the other thing they brought up was their work with hand on grant issues. So that's all I had. Oh, MC Iris. MC Iris is meeting this month was kind of troubled by a lot of internet problems that the leader had. But in general, they went over the this fall's or September's plant sale again came up, jumping worms, invasive jumping worm issues, which is a problem I had no idea how to solve. But they are here in Bloomington and Monroe County. They pose problems. And again, the lately, of course, the weather has interrupted some of the wrangles. But Jillian and company are pushing forward to continue that. And one other one, as far as removing invasive plants from, I believe it's, was it Clear Creek Elementary? I think,
I
I
don't
forgot
remember.
which elementary school, but they're gonna support this one, MCS. Monroe County School Corporation, school, elementary school, and it's in a neighborhood that I believe is a little bit, not exactly one of the more well-to-do ones. So it has some strong, at least to me, has potential support of, a group of people. Because if the kids see this and the parents see what's being done on the school property, it may help get them to help to do what they can, again, to support, native plants and native biodiversity. So this, I see a social justice connection in that as well. So that's basically it.
If I can throw one thing, more in, on Martin Luther King Day, MC Iris hosted a class on how to winter sow seeds in milk jugs. And, even though it was like, -2 degrees that day, there was a really good turnout. So, and the people who were there were very excited about getting a milk jug of seeds.
Nice. That's great. Great, well, thanks for the updates, Dave and Don, and I don't think we've got anybody at the Metropolitan Planning Organization Citizens Advisory Council or at the County Environmental Commission at this point, so.
I should be able to report on the County Environmental Commission in the future. So I know somebody who's becoming president of it, so.
Just gonna buddy up to him after.
I'm just
Give me a
gonna
breakdown.
swap minutes.
Tell me, nice.
Is that Neil?
It's Andrew.
Andrew.
Compton.
Oh, he's gonna be chair? Oh, okay. That does not
Yeah,
surprise.
so we're just gonna exchange minutes to stay in the loop with one another.
Okay, great.
We both of us participated in that thing in December with Monroe County.
Oh, yeah, that, it was a,
Workshop or
it was a workshop, whereby they're starting to come up with a climate action plan. And this was like, getting the public's ideas and opinions on what the problems are and which problems can be fixed and which can't and things of that. It's the same thing as the city's doing it at the same time. The city's about, a couple of months ahead of them.
I participated with the group that was interested in stormwater related issues. What was your group? Did you?
Mine was, plants, I think.
Well,
Small, but I thought it was a nice name.
well, it'll be nice to have kind of an inner knowledge of what's going on with the county side of things as well. Because I know there's a lot of stuff that we're doing that can easily stretch beyond just the city limits, so that's great. Well, so we've got commissioner announcements section, and then we'll be kind of closing things. I've been hinting about it, and I don't think we can do it next month, but we do need to vote on who will be in the positions of chair, vice chair, and secretary and treasurer. Let's plan on voting on that next month, but I would like each of you to really search your soul and imagine yourself in this seat, doing all this goofy stuff, right there where Megan's sitting potentially, right where Brenna has just been for a month now, but doing a great job. You could be in one of those positions, but really think about it. Like ask if you have questions, ask, Linda, myself, half of this commission has served in one of these roles or another. So if you have interest in any way at all, Matt would love to be chair.
Nope,
I think
Nope.
that.
I was gonna say, if your name is Carrie or Shannon or Megan Murphy or Mitchell or David Parkhurst, and you have not already, you're gonna want to reapply because the end of this month is the end of your term.
I have replied.
Also,
Cool.
Thanks for
I just like to do that every January, to tell the people who might not know that there's a thing they need to do. Because if you think, you know what, I'd like to be chair, and then you just fall off the commission. That's my announcement.
Yes. Just was, yeah.
Yeah. So yes, so that will be kind of the, between now and next month. And if ever you don't know when your commission date starts or is reaching its end, it's on the city website. And if you haven't been to the commission's page on the website, get there right quick. It is a delight, filled with information and, sort of stuff. But anyway, reapply if you're coming up on your date, maybe double check when your date is and set yourself a reminder when the time comes, because obviously we value each and every one of you. We'll be in touch about the nominations and moving forward on the roles of the EC for 2024. And I think I'm gonna open the table for Commissioner Nelson.
Yeah, WFIU and WTIU have a new newsletter that you can sign up for, and you get daily news from them with about 5 things. And sadly, one of them this time is our state legislature trying to tell counties what they can do again. And let me just read you this because it's fairly short. Bill targets Monroe County's building slope restrictions. Monroe County doesn't allow home builders to build on a slope steeper than 15%. Representative Dave Hall, Republican of Norman, said that's too strict. This bill would increase the allowed slope to 25%. And there goes our water supply because, yeah. So we don't want steep slopes going down into Lake Monroe. And he wants them to be even steeper where you're allowed to build on them. So this stupidity of allowing the state legislature to tell local people what they can do is, it's always a problem. Here we go again. Yeah.
Perhaps we could write an op-ed about this.
Oh my gosh, yes. Megan's got it. Yeah.
We'll be leaving the commission as of tonight. I feel that it was a worthwhile 5 years. My life has gotten more complicated this year. And I had to cut this down. But I will, by being on the commission, that in turn got me involved with MCRs and with the Parks Department. And providing, the irony is those activities dovetail with the physical therapy. It's just more awkward for me to get there as it is to get to meetings in general. With just one person driving and who also has things to do and places to be, has turned out to be very difficult. But I would start for not necessarily some of the elected officials of the city, but for basically all the city staff that I've been. And I found this to be among the best experiences which came out of being on DEC, was through the people that I saw as opportunities where I could put my own physical effort into the solution, even though one person and one can't change the world, every little bit helps.
Well, Don, thank you so much for the time, the energy. Obviously, you've been really, really dedicated to being on this commission and all the committees and things like that that you've helped with. So like, really, really appreciate and respect so much of the dedication you've shown. And yeah, hopefully taking this off your plate will allow for space for other things, but I suspect you'll keep
You
busy.
may see at the weed wrangles.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the beliefs that my wife and I have, is we kind of, now that we're quote senior citizens, it's also a time for just be stepping aside and passing the torch. Coming out of the 1960s, we as youth felt that no one was paying attention to us or listening to us. And people were sending people of my generation to places like Vietnam. I realized how many of my graduating high school class died the following year in Vietnam. About 5 of my classmates died within a year in Vietnam for nothing, for stupidity. And my generation now has done some pretty stupid things too, but we have to move aside.
We should be really proud of the fact that Connor suggested for our list for this year, doing a weed wrangle, and that was because of the connection that we've had through, your sharing about MC Iris and how impactful that's been to you and how our opportunity to get involved too and keep that alive. I think that says a lot.
When I asked Linda what was the main focus of DEC at that, when I first joined the commission, she stressed the wildlife corridor. And I had completed the Purdue Extension's Master Gardener program. And so that first spring after I was on the commission, I saw the people there from MC Iris and met Ellen and Jillian. And I realized this was something where I could actually help impact by volunteering.
I see him all the time in Southeast Park, which I live very near. He's cleaned up a lot of weeds there.
Yeah.
But that sits on one of the wildlife corridors. And what scares me is Lester Caldine is moving along Jackson Creek very aggressively. And this is a invasive plant that pushes out native species. And there are places now that could become a monoculture of this very difficult to remove plant. So.
Well, we really appreciate everything you put into this. I know it's been a lot. It's been, yeah.
That's the part, of course. I've learned a lot from them as well, including particularly the fact that they are trying to planning ahead to have plant species that will be adapted for the predicted climate.
Well, we're sad to have you move on, but again, we appreciate it. Is there, yeah. Yep, it's passing the opportunity to the next person who wants to join the EC, which, all the parties and projects we've got. Are there any other things that people want to share before we wrap up for the night?
I have a quick request for help. So I'm working on a grant application that is going to focus on waste and wastelands and Indiana wastelands. And I need community partners. So if you work with groups, it's an arts and humanities sort of environmental justice grant. But if you work with groups that are working on sort of local projects related to waste and wastelands. Like, I'm especially interested in the Superfund sites, the PCBs on the other side of town, and repair as well, sort of work of rewilding and repair. So if you know people who are working on these areas, and if you are, come and talk to me, I need. The grant really privileges community engagement and partners and trying to figure out what that looks like. So,
This commission, when I joined it back in 1974, was primarily interested in PCBs.
yeah. I've been reading a lot about PCBs and Westinghouse and all of that clearly in Bloomington, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make sure it's in the minutes too, that we can, follow up with you about it.
Yeah, I also have an announcement, so my term expires at the end of the month as well. And I decided not to renew my term, not to reapply, so I got plenty of stuff going on. And only about a year left, and I won't be here again this summer, and so this is also my last meeting. Hopefully a student can replace me. Or a successor.
And we should invite you a week or anything, right?
Yeah, if you're doing that, let me know. I'm meaning to go back. So,
Are you getting the same job again this summer?
yeah, same
No.
spot.
Same spot. Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks for being on the
Yes.
commission and for bringing all the
Yeah.
ideas and everything that you brought to it, because, yeah, that's what it takes. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see what the commissioner or the mayor give us, but yeah, it'd be nice to have,
Yeah,
continue to have really
I'll
nice.
find someone who can apply. and fill
Yeah.
the vacancy.
That's right.
Good.
Throw out the invite. Well, great. Well, is there anything else anybody wants to share? Okay, so the next steps are steering committee for nominations, which we will then vote on next month. We will make sure that this is all in our minutes, that we can all take a look at all the conversation we've had, and then they'll start breaking into, okay, working groups. Here are the people that volunteer to be involved in this. Go forth and start to organize yourselves, and then we can all continue to connect as the months go on, but hopefully we can move quickly. Last thing, I forgot, the garden fair. That it sounds like, yeah, the registration's coming up. There's like the early read, or I don't know, remember, there's like a deadline for March 15th, I think it
Yeah.
was, to sign up.
Something like that.
Any initial interest or action that we should take?
Was that the thing we did last year? Was it Switchyard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What
And
is
I
the
don't know if
date?
this would chart again, the 13th, it's Saturday, 13th, April, sorry. April's when everything takes massive momentum and it's
It is.
Bloomington outdoors.
Like Earth Day is right before that, or right after.
Do what?
Earth Day is right around then,
It's like, yeah, it'll be the following week.
Oh, I thought you said your birthday.
So think about it.
Oh, yeah, the eclipse is the 8th.
Yeah, 3,000 people in Bloomington.
Wow.
Okay, so think about it, think about the garden fair, it's April 13th, so if you think you'd like to be involved and to commit to that, consider that, and then we can confirm over email before the next meeting. Okay, well, I say, unless there's anything else going on, let's go ahead and wrap this meeting at 7:49. Thank you, everybody, really good job, please eat more snacks.